The postponement of the first manned spaceflight from American soil in almost a decade. Today's liftoff of the SpaceX rocket with 2 astronauts aboard was supposed to be the first time ever a private company has staged such a mission. We have Fox Team coverage. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts shows us what President Trump did during his time at the Space Center today. We begin, though, with correspondent Phil Keating with a disappointed group of people in Florida. Phil, it was like a Hollywood script for liftoff, but the liftoff has now been delayed. Good evening.
And good evening to you, Brett. And a gloomy evening it is here at the Cape. Extreme excitement suddenly turned into extreme disappointment for SpaceX, for NASA, and the tens and tens of thousands of people who came to Florida from around the country, all to see a historic launch, returning astronauts into space from Launch Pad 39A once again. The Cape Canaveral morning began ominously. Dark clouds, heavy rain, lightning, and thunder. Bad weather, the only thing that could jeopardize the historic launch of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket with 2 astronauts inside the Crew Dragon capsule. Astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley have been there before, each having flown 2 space shuttle missions, and both exuded confidence that this first launch from American soil in nearly a decade would happen. They put on their stylish new spacesuits, and not long after that, made the big strides out the door like every astronaut before them. A small crowd cheered this return, dubbed Launch America. After they got into their sleek Teslas, there was one last loving touch on the windows between the astronauts and their wives and kids. Even though NASA urged Americans who typically drive to the Cape to watch a launch not to this time, all due to coronavirus concerns, tens of thousands came out anyway, setting up tents on the beach to make a day of it, with the icing being a bright and loud blast-off. In Titusville, big crowds there as well.
It would be a dream come true. Really, a bucket list item checked off.
Once the astronauts got to the launch pad, Behnken and Hurley stopped to get one last look up at the Falcon and Dragon. Then it was time for their last steps on Earth for a while, walking down the access arm to get into the capsule. The flight team strapped and buckled them into their seats. Then, while they were doing their systems checks, suddenly, a tornado warning issued at Kennedy, 2.5 hours until launch. NASA telling everyone to take shelter, as if this day needed more drama. Fortunately, that passed, and then it was launch time, but launch time froze 16 minutes before ignition. Mother Nature simply didn't cooperate. So the launch now slides to Saturday afternoon, 3:22 p.m. Eastern Time, and the chance of rain in the forecast is 50%. Brett?
Phil Keating live at Kennedy Space Center. Phil, thanks.